The stars hung like cold, distant jewels against the absolute darkness of space. Captain Hyun-Ki Park stood perfectly still, his eyes fixed on the main view screen of the battlecruiser Daegu. His hands, calloused from years of military service, rested lightly on the smooth metal console before him. Around him, the ship's bridge hummed with quiet tension. Lieutenant Jae-Yun Kim monitored the communication systems, her fingers dancing across holographic displays that flickered with streams of data. The ship's sensors were scanning the emptiness of the Andromeda sector, a region of space that most humans considered the wild frontier. Most days, nothing happened. Today would be different. The Daegu was not a new ship. Its hull bore the marks of previous encounters, small scars that told stories of narrow escapes and tough battles. Modified countless times, the battlecruiser represented humanity's best hope in a universe that was becoming increasingly dangerous. Park knew this better than anyone. He had spent 20 years defending human colonies, watching as Earth slowly expanded its reach into the stars. A soft beeping broke the silence. "Captain," Jae-Yun called out, her voice sharp and clear, "I'm detecting an anomaly in Sector 9 Delta." Park moved closer to her station. The holographic display showed a tiny disturbance, a ripple in the fabric of space that shouldn't exist. Most officers would have dismissed it. Park had learned long ago that in space, small things could mean everything. "Magnify," he commanded. The display expanded, revealing a subtle disruption in the quantum field. It was almost invisible, like a whisper of movement against the black canvas of space. Then, without warning, everything changed. The quantum fold erupted. A massive alien vessel tore through the fabric of space, its arrival accompanied by a silent explosion of energy that made the Daegu's sensors scream in protest. The ship was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Its design defied human understanding, a living machine that seemed to breathe and pulse with an inner life of its own. Metallic tendrils extended from its hull, shifting and moving like tentacles. The vessel's outer skin changed colors, adapting to the background of space in a way that suggested more than simple camouflage. This was technology so advanced it seemed almost magical. "Full defensive protocols," Park ordered, his voice calm but urgent. The bridge erupted into controlled chaos. Crew members moved with practiced efficiency, bringing weapons systems online, raising energy shields, and preparing for potential combat. Park had seen first contact scenarios before, but something about this felt different. This was not a diplomatic mission. This was a predator entering their hunting grounds. Chief Engineer Sung Min Lee's voice crackled over the ship's internal communication system. "Captain, the quantum displacement is causing significant interference with our systems. I've never seen energy readings like this." Park watched as the alien vessel continued to materialize. Its size was impossible, at least 5 times larger than the Daegu. Smaller protrusions began to emerge from its main body, each one potentially a weapon, a sensor, or something humanity couldn't even comprehend. "Identify yourself," Park commanded, using the standard universal communication frequency. For several long moments, nothing happened. Then a response came, not in words, but in a transmission that sent chills down every human spine. It was a message of intention, a declaration of something far more significant than simple communication. First contact was about to change everything. Lieutenant Jae-Yun Kim leaned forward, her eyes wide with concentration. The alien transmission was unlike anything she had ever encountered. It wasn't just a message. It was a complex web of signals that seemed to dance between sound, light, and something else entirely. "Captain," she said, her voice steady despite the growing tension, "I'm attempting to decode the transmission." Hyun-Ki Park watched the massive alien vessel with a mixture of curiosity and growing concern. The ship seemed to breathe, its outer skin shifting and pulsing with colors that human eyes struggled to process. Around them, the Daegu's crew worked silently, their fingers flying across control panels, preparing for any possible scenario. Suddenly, the communication systems came alive. A voice emerged. if it could be called a voice. It was a combination of sounds that seemed to bypass language and speak directly to the brain. Jai Yun's translation software worked overtime, converting the alien communication into something humans could understand. The message was clear and terrifying. "Attention, human vessel." The translation began. "You stand in the territory of the Caraxian Empire. Your presence is an intrusion. Your existence is unauthorized." Park exchanged a quick glance with Jai Yun. The alien communication was more than a warning. It was a declaration of absolute superiority. The transmission continued. Each word was carefully chosen, designed to demonstrate the vast technological and military gap between humans and the Caraxian Empire. The alien being identified itself as a communication officer named Krell, a title that suggested both bureaucratic precision and military authority. "Your outer colony worlds are now property of the Caraxian Empire," Krell stated. The words were not a request. They were a command. "You will surrender all territorial claims. You will provide complete access to your colony resources. Resistance is not a calculable option." Park's jaw tightened. He had spent decades protecting human colonies. Colonies that represented humanity's hope, its future among the stars. Colonies where families had built lives, where children had been born, where dreams of a better future lived. And now, these aliens wanted to take it all away. Jai Yun's hands moved quickly, recording every aspect of the transmission. Her training kicked in, capturing not just the words, but the nuances of the communication. The way the alien speech seemed to carry layers of meaning beyond simple language. "They're giving us a choice," Park said quietly. "Surrender or be destroyed." The bridge was silent. Every crew member understood what was at stake. This was more than a military confrontation. This was a test of humanity's right to exist in the universe. Krell's transmission continued, detailing the precise terms of surrender. The alien's voice carried a sense of cold, calculated certainty. There was no room for negotiation, no space for diplomacy. This was a predator presenting its terms to prey. "You have one solar cycle to comply," the transmission concluded. "Failure to submit will result in complete destruction of your colonial assets." Park looked at his crew. He saw fear in some eyes. But he saw something else too. Determination. Anger. A refusal to be told they didn't belong among the stars. "Prepare all systems," he commanded, "and get me everything we know about the Caraxian Empire." The first battle for humanity's future was about to begin. The lower decks of the Daegu buzzed with intense activity. Soldiers checked their weapons. Engineers worked on complex modifications. And at the center of it all stood Jae-hoon Kwon. He wasn't a large man. Standing at average height, with sharp eyes and muscles built from years of special operations training, Jae-hoon looked more like a quiet university professor than a warrior. But looks could be deceiving. His record told a different story, a history of impossible missions and unexpected victories. Chief Engineer Sung-Min Lee approached Jae-hoon, carrying a device that looked more like a piece of modern art than a weapon. It was small, about the size of a human hand, with strange geometric patterns etched into its surface. "This," Sung-Min said, holding up the device, "might be our only chance." Jae-hoon examined the object carefully. Engineers were not typically known for creating weapons, but Sung-Min was different. He had a reputation for thinking outside the box. The device hummed with a soft, almost musical energy that made the hair on Jae-hoon's arms stand up. "Quantum disruptive charge," Sung-Min explained. "It's designed to break down molecular bonds in advanced energy shields. Theoretical, of course. We've never tested it in actual combat." The ship's briefing room was packed. Captain Park stood at the front, displaying holographic images of the Caraxian vessel. Each image revealed something new, impossible technologies, complex weapon systems that human scientists had only dreamed about. "We are facing a civilization centuries ahead of us," Park told the assembled team. "Their technology makes our best equipment look like children's toys." Jae-hoon listened carefully. He had been in impossible situations before, missions where defeat seemed certain, but something always happened, a moment of unexpected opportunity, a weakness that nobody else saw. In the corner, Lieutenant Jae-young Kim worked on communication systems. She had been analyzing the alien transmission nonstop, looking for any weakness, any pattern that might give them an advantage. Her fingers moved quickly across holographic displays, breaking down the alien language into smaller and smaller pieces. "Their communication has a pattern," she said suddenly. "It's not random. There's a specific rhythm, almost like a code within a code." Some men looked up. "Can you break it?" Jae-yun smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who loved a challenge. "Give me time." Jae-hoon checked his combat gear. Standard issue armor, modified with experimental energy absorption technology. Weapons that could shift between multiple attack modes. But he knew technology wasn't everything. Experience had taught him that human creativity was the real weapon. The ship's alarm system suddenly came alive. Red warning lights began to pulse. The Correxian vessel was making its move. "This is not about winning," Captain Park said, looking at his team. "This is about showing them who we are. This is about proving that humanity belongs among the stars." Jae-hoon secured his helmet. Outside the ship's windows, space seemed to twist and bend. The first wave of the battle was about to begin. Humanity's fight for survival had started. Space erupted into chaos. The Correxian vessel moved like nothing humanity had ever seen before. It didn't simply fly. It flowed through space, bending reality around its massive hull. Smaller attack vessels emerged from its body like droplets of liquid metal, each one a perfect killing machine. "Incoming!" Lieutenant Jae-young Kim shouted, her hands flying across the communication console. The first wave of alien attackers struck with impossible speed. Human support ships, smaller vessels that had been accompanying the Daegu, vanished in silent explosions. No fire, no smoke, just sudden, complete destruction. Captain Hyun-ki Park gripped his command chair. "Evasive maneuvers," he ordered. The Daegu twisted in space, its massive hull moving with a grace that seemed impossible for such a large ship. Jae-hoon Kwon watched from the combat preparation room. His fingers moved across his personal tactical display, tracking the battle's impossible complexity. "Their weapon systems," some Minli muttered. "They're not using physical projectiles. It's some kind of quantum disruption field." Another human support ship disappeared, then another. The Correxian attackers moved with a synchronized precision that seemed almost alive. They weren't just fighting. They were hunting. Jae-hoon noticed something. A pattern in the alien attack formation. Most would see random movement. But he saw something else. A hunting strategy more complex than any human military doctrine. "Captain," he called over the communication system. "Their attack pattern. It's not random. They're hurting us." Park understood immediately. The Correxian ships were pushing the human vessels into a specific formation, like predators cornering prey. Each movement was calculated. Each attack had a purpose beyond simple destruction. Jae-yun's communication systems went crazy. Thousands of signals burst across multiple frequencies. The alien technology was so advanced it made human communication look like children's toys. "We can't match their technology," some men said, watching the holographic battle display. "We need something different." Jae-hoon was already moving. He grabbed the experimental combat shuttle, a small vessel designed for special operations. Its design was simple compared to the alien ships, but sometimes simple was good. "Requesting launch permission," he told the bridge. Captain Park hesitated for just a moment. Then, "Granted. Be careful, Kwon." The combat shuttle launched from the Daegu side. To the alien sensors, it would look like just another piece of space debris. But Jae-hoon was not just another pilot. Outside, the battle continued. Human ships fought with everything they had. Energy weapons fired. Shield systems trained. The Correxian attackers continued their perfect, deadly dance. Jadhoon's shuttle moved differently, not like a military vessel, more like a living thing, watching, waiting, looking for that one moment of weakness. The first stage of the battle was almost over, and humanity was losing. But Jae-hoon Kwon had other plans. The alien ship was alive. That was the first thing Jae-hoon noticed as his small combat shuttle slipped through a microscopic breach in the vessel's outer hull. The walls weren't metal. They weren't even solid in the way humans understood solidity. They moved. They breathed. They responded. His team of 4 special operations soldiers moved carefully. Each step made the floor beneath them pulse and shift. Lieutenant Min-soo Park, the team's tech expert, ran a quick scan with a handheld device. "Nothing makes sense," he whispered. "These readings are impossible." Jae-hoon understood. The Correction ship was more like a living organism than a machine. Sensors moved like tiny eyes. Walls shifted color and texture with each passing moment. It was as if the entire vessel was one massive, thinking creature. "Stay tight," Jae-hoon commanded. "We have one objective. Find the central command chamber." Their special suits protected them from the ship's strange environment. But protection was only part of the challenge. Moving through this ship was like walking through the veins of a massive alien beast. Alien defenders appeared suddenly. They were not what anyone expected. Not robots. Not traditional soldiers. They were something in between, part organic, part machine. Their bodies shifted and changed, becoming weapons in an instant. The first attack came from the walls themselves. Tendrils of metallic material shot out, trying to grab the human intruders. Min-soo's quick reflexes saved the team. He fired a quantum disruptor, causing the attacking tendrils to dissolve into strange, glowing particles. "These aren't just defenses," Sergeant Dong-hyuk Kim said. "The entire ship is trying to stop us." Jae-hoon knew they had limited time. The battle outside continued. The Daegu was fighting for its life, and these 4 soldiers were humanity's only hope of finding a weakness in the Correction defense. Strange symbols covered the walls. They moved, changed, communicated in ways human minds struggled to understand. Min-soo tried to scan them, but the symbols seemed to actively resist understanding. Another wave of alien defenders approached. These were different, more organized. They moved with a collective intelligence that suggested they were more than individual soldiers. They were part of a single, massive thinking system. Dong-hyuk's weapon fired. Energy burst from the specialized human weapon, designed to work against the alien technology. But the defenders adapted. Their bodies changed, absorbed, resisted. "We're getting closer," Jae-hoon said. He could feel it. Something about the ship's internal structure was changing. The walls were growing more nervous, more defensive. A massive chamber opened before them. This was different. The walls here pulsed with a different energy. Memories, information. The very history of the Correction civilization seemed stored in these living walls. "The central command must be close," Min-soo whispered. Suddenly, everything stopped. The ship seemed to hold its breath. Something was coming. Something big. Jae-hoon checked his weapon. The team was ready. Humanity's most dangerous mission was about to reach its critical moment. The walls began to change. To prepare. To defend. The central chamber was nothing like anything humans had ever imagined. King Vorlak stood 3 meters tall, his body a perfect blend of living armor and advanced technology. He was not just a ruler. He was a weapon. Every inch of his body told a story of 1,000 conquered civilizations. Trophies from defeated species hung around the chamber. Fragments of ships, strange artifacts, silent witnesses to his brutal history. Jae-hoon and his team entered the chamber. The walls seemed to watch, to listen, to judge. "Humans," Vorlak spoke. His voice was not a sound. It was a vibration that entered directly into their minds. "You are the smallest threat I have encountered in 500 years of conquest." Sergeant Dong-hyuk's hand tightened on his weapon. Min-soo's scanning device went crazy, unable to process the complex energy signatures surrounding the alien king. Vorlak moved, not like a living being, more like a perfect machine. Each step changed the chamber structure. The floor became a weapon. The walls became eyes. Everything was alive. Everything was a potential threat. Your species is interesting, the alien king continued. But interesting does not mean important. Jae-hoon understood something in that moment. This was more than a battle. This was a test. Humanity's entire future balanced on what would happen in the next few minutes. The alien king's armor shifted. Weapons emerged from impossible places. Blades of pure energy. Quantum disruption fields. Technologies so advanced, they seemed like magic. Each movement was calculated. Perfect. Merciless. Retreat is not an option. Jae-hoon whispered to his team. We go forward. The first attack came faster than human eyes could follow. Vorlak moved like lightning, his body transforming into multiple weapon systems simultaneously. A normal human team would have been destroyed in a millisecond. But this was not a normal team. Min-soo fired the experimental quantum disruptive device. It wasn't meant to destroy. It was meant to understand, to find a weakness. The device struck Vorlak's armor. For just a moment, a single, impossible moment, something changed. The armor flickered. Vorlak looked surprised. Humans were not supposed to be a threat. Humans were not supposed to have a chance. Dong-huk saw the opening. His weapon fired, not with complex alien technology, but with simple, focused human determination. The chamber exploded with energy. Jae-hoon moved. This was humanity's moment, not because of superior technology, but because of something deeper, something the alien king could not understand. Will, determination, the ability to fight when fighting seemed impossible. The battle for humanity's future had reached its critical moment, and nobody, not even the mighty King Vorlak, knew what would happen next. The quantum disruptive device changed everything. For a single moment, King Vorlak's incredible armor became something less than perfect, something vulnerable. Jae-hoon saw the opportunity and knew this was humanity's only chance. Min-soo's hands moved faster than anyone could see. He adjusted the device, pushing it beyond its designed limits. The small machine began to pulse with an energy that seemed to make reality itself wobble. Strange colors appeared, colors that shouldn't exist, that human eyes had never seen before. Now, Jae-hoon shouted. The chamber around them went crazy. The living walls of the correction ship began to react, sensing something was wrong. Tendrils of metallic material tried to protect their king. Defensive systems activated, but something fundamental had changed. Vorlak's armor, once a perfect shield of advanced technology, began to break down. Not dramatically, not with explosions or fire, but with a slow, terrifying breakdown that revealed something unexpected. Weakness. Sergeant Dong-huk understood immediately. Human warriors were not about perfect technology. They were about finding that one small chance, that single moment when everything could change. He fired. The weapon was simple, a standard-issue human combat rifle, modified during their desperate preparation. Nothing like the alien technology surrounding them. But in this moment, simplicity became a weapon. The shot hit exactly where Min-soo's quantum device had created a microscopic vulnerability. King Vorlak moved to protect himself. But for the first time in 500 years of conquest, he was slower, less certain. The living armor that had protected him through thousands of battles was failing. Impossible, the alien king said. The words entered their minds like a cold wind. Jae-hoon knew they had only moments. The entire correction ship was a living system. It would adapt. It would protect its ruler. They had one chance to prove that humanity was more than just another species to be conquered. Min-soo's device continued to pulse. It wasn't just breaking down the armor. It was revealing something deeper. The fundamental weaknesses in the Caraxian technological philosophy. Their technology was perfect, but perfection had a price. No flexibility, No ability to truly adapt. Humans were different. Humans could change, could think differently, could find solutions when no solution seemed possible. The chamber around them began to react. The walls shifted, tried to protect, tried to heal, but something fundamental had been broken. Vorlak's armor continued to fail, piece by piece, moment by moment. "You do not understand," the alien king said. "You cannot win." Jehun smiled, a small, dangerous smile. "Watch us," he replied. The turning point had arrived. Humanity's future balanced on a knife's edge. One small team, one impossible moment, everything they had ever hoped for hanging in the balance. The battle was not over. But for the first time, victory seemed possible. The Correction ship began to die. It wasn't a quick death. It was a slow, painful breakdown that spread like a virus through the living vessel. King Vorlak's perfect technology was turning against itself. The walls that once protected now betrayed. The systems that once controlled now collapsed. Jehun and his team watched in total silence. Outside the ship's massive windows, the remaining Correction attack vessels began to lose coordination. They had always moved like a single, perfect organism. Now they looked lost, confused, suddenly without direction. Their entire system, Min Su said quietly, is breaking down. The quantum disruptive device had done more than just damage the king's armor. It had exposed a fundamental weakness in the Caraxian technological philosophy, a weakness that ran deeper than anyone could have imagined. Perfection, they discovered, had a fatal flaw. King Vorlak tried to fight back, but his movements became slower, less certain. The living armor that had conquered thousands of civilizations was falling apart piece by piece. How? The alien king asked. The question wasn't just about the battle. It was about something larger, something more important. Jehun stepped forward. "Adaptation," he said simply. The chamber around them continued to break down. Alien technologies that had seemed impossible began to fail. The walls that had watched and listened now trembled and died. Sergeant Dong Hyuk's communication device suddenly came alive. Captain Park's voice cut through the chaos. "Report," he demanded. "We've found their weakness." Dong Hyuk responded. "The entire system is collapsing." On the Daegu, Lieutenant Jae-yun Kim watched in amazement. The alien communication systems, once so complex, so unbreakable, were falling apart. Signals that had seemed impossible to understand now became clear. The Correction fleet was losing its connection. King Vorlak made one final attempt to fight, but it was too late. The technology that had made him invincible was now his greatest weakness. Every system he had relied on was turning against him. Humanity, the alien king said, was not supposed to be a threat. Jehun's team remained focused. This was more than a battle. This was a message to the universe. Humanity would not be conquered, would not be told where it could or could not go. The ship continued to die around them, but it was a controlled death, a death that revealed something important about both the attackers and the defenders. Technology was not about perfection. It was about adaptation, about finding new solutions, about being able to change when change seemed impossible. As the last of the Correction systems failed, something became clear. This was not just a victory for Jehun and his team. This was a victory for every human who had ever looked to the stars and believed they belonged there. The alien king had fallen. Humanity had proven its worth. And the universe would never be the same again. The silence was different after the battle. Not the silence of defeat, not the silence of destruction, but a silence of understanding. Something had changed in the universe, and everyone felt it. Captain Hyun-ki Park stood on the bridge of the Daegu, watching the remaining pieces of the Correction fleet drift helplessly through space. His communication officer, Lieutenant Jae-yun Kim, worked furiously to intercept and decode the alien transmissions that now flowed without control. "They're falling apart," she said quietly. "Their entire communication network is breaking down." Jae-hoon and his team had returned to the Daegu. They looked tired, damaged, but something else burned in their eyes, something that went beyond simple victory. Chief Engineer Sung-Min Lee examined the quantum disruptive device that had changed everything. "This," he said, holding up the small machine, "is going to change human technology forever." The surviving correction ships moved like lost children. Without their king, without their perfect system, they were suddenly vulnerable, suddenly weak. Word spread quickly, not just across the human communication networks, but across the entire known galaxy. A small human team had defeated the most powerful civilization anyone had ever seen. On the colony worlds, people watched their communication screens in disbelief. Families gathered. Scientists analyzed. Military leaders studied every moment of the battle. "They thought we were nothing," Captain Park told his crew. "They believed we were just another species to be conquered." Sergeant Dong-Huk looked out at the stars. "We showed them different." The implications were massive. This was more than a single battle. This was a message to every civilization watching. Humanity was not just another species to be overlooked. They were something else entirely. Min-Soo continued analyzing the alien technology. Each piece revealed new secrets, new possibilities. The quantum disruptive device was just the beginning. Humans would learn, would adapt, would grow. Communication signals from other alien civilizations began to change. Where once there was dismissal, now there was curiosity, respect, a new understanding. "We're not just survivors," Jae-hoon said quietly. "We're explorers, inventors, fighters." The Daegu moved slowly, surrounded by the broken remnants of the Koraxian fleet. Each piece of alien technology became a learning opportunity, a chance to understand, to grow. Lieutenant Jae-yun's communication systems picked up signals from distant star systems. Alien civilizations were watching, listening, understanding that humanity was something special. Captain Park looked at his crew, tired, damaged, but unbroken. "We're going to go further," he said. "We're going to explore. We're going to grow." The stars outside seemed to shine a little brighter. Humanity had proven its place in the universe. And this was just the beginning.